I was 9 years old. As soon as we crossed the threshold, something in the air made me slow my steps. Judging by the musty smell, this place held secrets a century old. Mom took my hand. "Everything is fine? Let's go." I nodded, and we headed deeper into the new house. Dim rays of sunlight illuminated the outdated interior. The carpets had lost their color, and the faded wallpaper had bubbled and peeled in places. The whole atmosphere hinted that this place hadn't welcomed guests in a long time. I looked at Mom and met her calm smile. She had grown up here, and every corner of this house held her childhood memories. Grandma had passed away a year ago and had left this place to us. I was overcome with homesickness. I was born and raised in Germany and had only seen Grandma once when she visited for Christmas. We had been a normal, happy family, but a month ago, my father left us without explanation. There was no choice. We had to return to my mother's homeland. We reached the room that was supposed to be mine. I immediately noticed the large window, the bed nearby, and the closed attic hatch right behind the door. My throat went dry because tonight I would have to sleep alone in an unfamiliar place for the first time. Grandma had been a seamstress and her husband a master doll maker, but he had disappeared before I was born. In the evening, I helped Mom clean the kitchen. We decided to take some of the boxes down to the basement. A small, creaky staircase led down there. We carefully descended the steps. The smell of earth and dampness hit my nose. My eyes gradually adjusted to the darkness. I shuddered. A slanted figure peeked out from around the corner. Its shoulders were hunched toward the ground, and instead of limbs, there were stumps. Mom froze alongside me. Scared? I was still standing rooted to the spot, unable to take my eyes off the dark figure. "It's just a mannequin. Grandma used it to fit customers' dresses." Mom found a large lever and pulled it down. There was an electric crackle, and a yellow lamp illuminated us. The figure turned out to be a large doll. It didn't resemble store mannequins. It was an actual doll, with a beautifully painted face, long hair, and disturbingly lifelike glass eyes. It used to scare me as a child. "Workers will come in a week. I'll ask them to throw it away. Shall we go?" We returned to the kitchen. A relaxed sigh escaped my chest, but the lingering feeling that someone was watching us remained. "I have a task for you. I'm sure some of my old toys are still around. Find something to play with while I cook up something tasty." I started jumping up and down with excitement. I couldn't wait to finally eat. A moldy teddy bear, alphabet blocks, and a rocking horse for toddlers. Those were all the finds. I checked every room a few times, hoping to find something interesting. Then a loud creak echoed from the second floor. Goosebumps ran all over my body, and I slowly headed upstairs. Everything on the second floor looked normal, except for one thing. The locked attic door had swung open. The rickety stairs descended and beckoned inside. Exhaling, I climbed up. The space was tighter than the basement, and the attic itself resembled a workshop. I walked over to the small window where light illuminated the master's work table. On it lay rusty sewing scissors, a few scraps of fabric, buttons, and a large fabric bundle. "Emma, come down for dinner," Mom's voice called from afar. Something was interesting in the bundle, so I grabbed it immediately. "Emma, do you hear me?" Her voice became sterner.
"Coming!"
I shouted, quickly unwrapping the treasure. A beautiful porcelain doll, dirty with earth, peeked out from under the fabric. Typically, these dolls are kept in glass cabinets and no one is allowed to touch them. The frilly dress had once been for a ball, but now looked like a rag. Black glass eyes stared straight at me. When something moved deep within them, I flinched, quickly wrapped the doll back up, and bolted to the kitchen. When night came, lying in the new bed, I constantly felt someone's gaze. Every creak made my heart race, making it hard to sleep. I woke up several times to a tapping noise, but it was just a branch hitting the window. In the morning, I met the doll's gaze. She was staring at me from the nightstand near the bed. Those immobile black eyes pierced right through me. The discomfort made me sit up abruptly, and I noticed dark stains of damp earth in my bed. Mom was busy, so after breakfast, I had to find ways to entertain myself. The doll and I went outside. I can't say I was happy about my new friend, but my toys hadn't arrived yet, so I had no choice. By lunchtime, I had a headache, and my whole body felt heavy. I threw the doll aside and went to find Mom. "You didn't sleep well. Just lie down for a while." As I climbed to the second floor, I heard faint rustling behind me. But in a moment, I realized it wasn't just rustling. Someone was walking right behind me. Fear tightened around my throat. Turning around, I saw the familiar outline of a ball gown. The doll was sitting on the steps below. Who had brought it there? Without looking back, I ran, slammed the door of my room shut, and immediately hid under the blanket. I stayed there until I fell asleep. Over the next few days, Mom was tormented by a severe migraine. I also felt drained and no longer wanted to sleep alone, but Mom was adamant. "You're too old for that." One evening, I was playing with the doll in the hallway when the light suddenly went out. I felt something move in my hands. My heart skipped a beat. I threw the doll into the darkness. My hair stood on end. Someone was breathing quietly downstairs. The breathing was wheezy, but it grew louder and louder and louder. The light came back on. The doll was gone. Tears came to my eyes, and I ran to my parents' bedroom.
"Mom?"
I pulled the handle, but the door was locked. Quiet sobs filled the hallway. I was in for another night alone. The following days, she only got worse. Mom was irritable and constantly slept due to the migraine. I tried to talk to her about the strange happenings, but it was useless. "It's just your imagination. You'll get used to the sounds of the house. It's just us here." But I was having nightmares where I was buried alive. Every night, I woke up gasping for air, drenched in cold sweat. The house seemed to be draining the life out of us. That's how the first week passed. The next night, I woke up from another nightmare and heard a muffled whisper coming from the dark corner of the room. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. Breathing became harder as if something was squeezing my throat. Then I saw it. The doll was staring at me with its black, hollow eyes from the nightstand. In the darkness, its smile twisted into an unrecognizable, mocking grin. It dawned on me that the whisper was coming from that cursed toy. It kept repeating and repeating,
"Let me out! Let me out!"
In despair, I covered my head with a pillow and burst into tears of helplessness. I don't know how much time passed, but I eventually passed out, and in the morning, I was awakened by the sound of a car outside the window. The doll was gone from the dresser. Finally, the workers arrived. I watched with interest as they hauled the junk out of the house and broke into the attic. The accursed bundle with the doll lay untouched on the table. I tossed it into the trash box and felt a wave of relief. At the same time, a careless worker dropped the mannequin from the basement, and its porcelain head shattered with a loud crack. Out of the mannequin spilled fabric stained with something brown and a tuft of hair. Mom quickly recovered once the junk and all the dolls, of which there were several dozen in old boxes, were removed from the house. A week later, we found Grandma's diary and were shocked. Grandpa wasn't just a doll maker, he was an occultist. He used ancient scriptures to imbue his creations with special protective powers. Grandpa made toys to order in the likeness of their owners. He would place a lock of hair and a piece of cloth with the client's blood into the doll to establish a connection. The neighbor girl, Rosa, suffered from narcolepsy. The porcelain creature from the attic was made especially for her. Grandpa decided to try a new ritual to cure her illness. Everyone loved the doll, especially its new owner, but a few days after receiving the gift, Rosa died. Her grief-stricken parents blamed Grandpa for their daughter's death. Rumors spread, and he was hounded until he fled the town under pressure. But something turned out to be even stranger. Grandma wrote that they couldn't remove the doll from Rosa's hands, so they were buried together. At the parents' request, a murder investigation was launched, so later the grave was exhumed to examine the body and the toy for signs of poisoning. The doll was missing from the coffin, and the girl's fingers were covered in dried blood. Deep nail marks were found on the lid of the coffin. Her face was frozen in a grimace of horror.